Peace and blessings, everyone. This is the Futures Black episode. I'm one of your hosts, Naseed Gifted, and this is
Jojo Abenaavi Arts.
And this is the Futures Black podcast. And this is episode 41, Code of Liberation, Afrofuturism, Tech, and the Future of Activism. How are Black innovators using technology as a weapon for justice? This episode explores how Afrofuturistic thinkers, coders, and organizers are harnessing AI, blockchain, and digital storytelling to dismantle oppression and build liberated futures. So we have an exciting show for you. Please let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. I'm excited about this because each and every week we've been doing this each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today's episode, where we talked about activism, right? And there's been a lot going on in the news, especially with this new administration and everything. But we want to talk about how we could use Afrofuturism as a framework for tech activism, right? And how Afrofuturism reimagines technology as a tool for collective liberation beyond Silicon Valley profit-driven models. And then looking at historical parallels, like from the Underground Railroad codes to Black Twitter, Black tech Twitter or digital resistance. So we've always existed, we always adapted, we always resisted within these particular spaces. And now we're going to show how, we're looking at this from an activism.
That sounds good. Activism.
Yeah, activism. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm pronunciating my words right. So just kind of looking at that. So now in the digital era, one of the things, I'll just refer to the Black Lives Matter movement. In this digital age, let me go back real quick. If you haven't heard of the book of 100 Years of Lynching, right, where they talk about news articles of all of the individuals who were lynched over the last century, that was news articles, and, that's how we would get our information to the masses, and then, of course, word of mouth. But during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, when everyone, especially during COVID, everyone had access to seeing what was going on beyond Ferguson with George Floyd and a number of other things that were happening around the world. And then now with social media and all of these other platforms being able to now not only see what's going on, but actually activate and act on what's happening. A number of rallies. I know we had a few here in Newark, just talking about the social ills that's going on within our community, from police brutality and everything else in between. But using social media and technology as a way to be able to not only to be able to share our voice, and then also within this, there's always a way to be able to, using AI. Now we talk about AI, as a tool for justice. And when you hear that AI for justice, right? What do you think about that, Jojo, when you think about AI as a tool for justice?
AI for justice. Wow. That's a deep piece, because you have two sides of AI. You have the one side where there's coded bias because of the ones who initially may have created the algorithms, the data that's based on, and that influences the output of it. So when you're looking at AI, justice for us, it could be the facial scanning.
Yep.
Technologies that's out there, leveraging AI to review applications, or leveraging AI within probation to determine if someone's going to repeat in the justice system, looking at AI for different things. So if we want to make a change and allow it to use it for justice, we have to start creating the algorithms for the AI and starting to find new uses that can benefit the society.
Oh no, definitely,
through AI,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, because like when we talk about like decoding the tools, tech in the modern movements, right? You would talk about facial recognition software. We have, they have software now. I mean, you experience it in the airport, and in any other public setting where if you have a certain profile or whatever the case may be, they can recognize you immediately. Similar to what they use, what your state troopers use for license plate scanning and everything else. But you always have these cameras that's kind of scanning. But also now they're using AI to be able to do that. And we talk about predictive policing, right? And then within that, the pros is like, okay, if you already know the profile of the individual that you're looking for, that's one thing. But when we talk about predictive policing, if there's already an embedded bias, within the database of who they're looking for, who they are looking at to say that they are possibly about to commit a crime, it's one thing if you're actually looking for a criminal, but now we're looking at, going beyond stop and frisk and just, making suggestions that, hey, these individuals are predetermined to be able to do crimes, or because of their skin tone or their hairstyle, or any of those other features that might be already embedded bias within that. So what you were speaking to earlier, like the coding in the databases that they are actually using for this the large language model to be able to do that is something that we definitely got to be a part of. And I look at that and I just want to make sure that, we're very conscious, because the technology that we're talking about lives here today. You don't see it, but let you do something on a high level, they would already be able to scan the area and be able to find you in databases. They desensitize us and stuff through, movies and entertainment and everything. But this is real technology that they're using today. And now they're implementing AI into it to be able to, help them be able to work more efficiently and effectively. That's the logic. That's the reasoning behind it. But also for Black and brown communities, I don't know if that's going to be a helpful or hurtful, looking at the data and everything.
Yeah, I mean, they've been priming us for it, starting with like Facebook. Mm-hmm. When they start doing the facial recognition, you post a post up, you got a picture, and you're like, oh, is this you? Mm-hmm. Or you want me to tag this person? So we've been using the technology, generative text, when you're texting, it's completing what you want to say. That's all AI. We've been using it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Pokemon. Yeah. With the AR, getting all that data around who's around. And
and the different areas that you want to go to. With your likes, your dislikes, all of these different things they use to build profiles and databases. My thing is what they're doing with the data and how it's being used and executed. Where's this being stored? Like all of this stuff, just having the opportunity to have access to this stuff. But
you gonna talk about the good?
I am going to talk about some of the good. I'm the conspiracy theorist. Jojo is always looking on the bright side of this stuff. But I mean, the reality is, once again, it could be a weapon or a tool. Depending on who is using the actual tool. I just think.
Skeptic.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of all of this stuff. Because, I actually write about this in the graphic novel series P.B.Soldier, and how, this surveillance, this worldwide surveillance and being able to create profiles out of people and everything. Most people are so surprised when they open a phone and it was something that they were talking about with their friend, and then next thing my mother, for instance, she thought that someone was hacking into her phone. I said, no, Ma, it's cookies. It's called just cookies of what you're looking at or what you're talking about, and then you actually see ads for that. Next thing, that's AI being able to do that. But that's your phone constantly listening. And also, if you have AI, Alexa, or Siri, or any of those other applications in your house, for we got smart homes and stuff, that's also listening and building profiles for what you like, what you dislike, and different types of ads and stuff. Right now, it's for marketing purposes.
Yeah, it's personalization. We see that, like when we talk about what's going on with Africa right now, because they are being seen as some of the leaders. They're not lagging behind on AI. They're seeing some of the leaders, and a lot of the things they're doing with it is personalization, right? So it's the good, getting to the good part. So it's good to have personalization.
Yes.
especially when you get to education and you're looking at like tutoring programs that are available
Mm-hmm.
now for the different students, that have that personalization along with it.
No, definitely. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about, we moving away from the cookie cutter, one size fits all, and making sure that we are assessing strengths and weaknesses, and being able to build individualized educational plans for individuals to be able to help them move further. I think me and you were sharing an article about the AI school,
Yeah, yeah.
with
I'm
the
still
teacher,
trying to get my head around that.
yeah, the teacherless school. I'm assuming there's some type of adult intervention and everything in
Yeah,
there.
so it's AI driven for the basics.
Yes.
And then after that they have like financial planning and other topics that's led by a coach.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a certified teacher, but it's like someone guiding them through
Mm-hmm.
human
Yep.
things that I think is beautiful. That
I
you
mean, yeah,
definitely
and they
need
have
someone
adaptive
in the
learning.
class with
I know
you.
they have adaptive learning models where if you're getting, some, like if you're doing a quiz or a test, if you're getting a lot of the questions correct, then they
They
start
make it harder.
make it a little harder. But if you are getting them wrong, then they start making it easier. But then they take that assessment and say, okay, these are the type of interventions that you may need
Yeah,
to
the
be able
training plan.
to be able to train you up to be successful in this particular module or whatever the case may be. So I've seen that. But we digress. We want to talk about activism and everything, and just staying with
So one more
some
thing.
of the positive things.
Some more positives.
Yes.
So technology for social change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So another aspect I look at is sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people hear sustainability, just think about your carbon footprint, but it's
Mm-hmm.
actually more to that than just environmental. There's a huge segment of that which is dealing with your social, where you're dealing with your human rights, labor practices,
Mm-hmm.
diversity, and different community impacts that are being made. And a lot of that can be enhanced with technology.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at AI, the renewable energy, smart infrastructure, being able to predict like the environmental factors as well,
Mm-hmm.
to see how much are you harming, and if you make these different adjustments, what is the benefits going to look like
Nice.
to you over it. Climate patterns, helping with agriculture, making sure food gets to where it needs to get,
Mm-hmm.
and then also around healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
leveraging AI, personalization again, understanding the difference between people say equal. You'll give the equal services to everyone, but you need to recognize, is that the same service that that person needs?
Mm-hmm.
Are there other components to that you need to provide? And AI can help you
Oh, no, definitely.
along those lines as well.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when we talk about decoding tools, like tech and the modern movements and everything, we talk about activism, blockchain, for the Black economists, where we talk about community crypto, or for our community, in Ghana, they call it the susu,
Susu, yeah.
yeah. So now using crypto and blockchain technology to be able to do like a community susu, so you can be able to accumulate wealth outside of centralized banking, and doing things that's decentralized, to be able to build community and be able to actually have access to funding and everything. Because one of the things, like when you depend on, and a lot of these social movements actually have corporate entities that's backing them. So now if you're able to generate your own funding and be able to allocate that, and be able to accumulate that, now you're not dependent on the corporate funding who have another agenda. They're going to push their agenda, within that, and just kind of be able to separate the two, so you can just stay focused on what the mission and goal is of this particular movement that you're pushing towards and everything. But also cooperative platforms, using it. And then the one thing that I didn't think of, but when I was reading this article they were talking about, was reparations tracking, using blockchain for reparations tracking. So if we were to be able to get access to some type of reparations, and how everyone in this particular group are actually getting reparations, and actually putting that into a crypto account or on the blockchain and everything, and being able to have access to that, that is something that is, that was new to me, when we talk about activism and everything.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. It'll be interesting because that whole conversation about reparations, that could
Mm-hmm.
be its own week long
Yes, yes.
week long event. But I haven't it just reminds me of the equity platform that
Mm-hmm.
we discussed before, where we're using blockchain to be collective
Yep.
community to have investments in other areas. So I'm interested in understanding what you just mentioned, that about the reparations, if it's also community building and not just individuals getting the money and
Mm-hmm.
doing things individually, but collectively
Yeah,
investing, and then each of us get residuals
mm-hmm.
from that long term.
And that's where I'm seeing it as a community and collective way to be able
Mm.
to do things, but also be able to be transparent and be able to see the allocation of the funding and everything. You know, if you're doing it through banks and everything, now you need access and codes and stuff like that. At least through the blockchain, you could be able to at least see. You may not be able to access it, but you at least see, you know, where the funding and going. So that could be for transparency purposes and everything. But one of the things that I did also come across with this article was the VR and AR for, you know, memory and protests, right? So
Hmm.
if you're
Mm.
talking about something, you know, with regards to Ferguson, you know, the riots in Ferguson and everything that, you know, went down with that, when you want to have someone be immersed within an experience using a VR or AR aspect to be able to immerse them in the experience. Now, I did something similar to this, and they actually do this now with driver's ed program and everything, where you know, like how you would see the world if you were intoxicated or whatever the
Oh
case may be,
gosh.
but you could actually live through the actual experience. Like I was immersed into this at the Tribeca Film Festival. I was immersed into this scene where somebody was being interrogated, and I think it was like Nazi Germany or something like that, and you could actually see and experience the the people blowing smoke in your face and you
Oh,
know and
that's
all this other
horrible.
stuff, you know, like and the intimidation that they tried to you know kind of put people through and all of this stuff.
That's
You could see the torture, but I'm just saying you take something like that, and for those who don't have that lived experience or can't associate with it, because you know one of the things that people who are non-black and brown, and then we talk about police brutality and microaggressions and everything, they just can't associate or understand, you know, like what people are going through, leveraging technology to be able to have help them assist, because it would never be exactly the same, of course, but at least they could actually get a lens of you know some of these experiences that's actually happening and see it from another perspective, because it's all about
yes.
perspective.
So I have a few concerns
Mm-hmm.
with that. So I do research on like VR virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the research that came out recently is that when you're watching virtual reality, your brain is taking that as an actual memory.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very careful when I put a VR headset what I'm experiencing, because my brain can take that as actually happening to me
Mm-hmm.
and cause me to have trauma,
Yeah.
PTSD
Yep.
afterwards. And they're also, on the flip side, using the virtual reality to change your thinking around
Mm-hmm.
PTSD. So, but with the other people, non-melanated, getting in the VR space, looking at someone that looks like us, I have a feeling we need to leverage the technology to make that person non-melanated.
Mm-hmm.
Have it go through the experience that way, and maybe that would resonate more with them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, but just imagine going through the civil rights movement in VR where they were doing a sit-in, and you know how the experience that they went through, you know, Selma and any of those, you know, historical things. I mean, from the bus boycotting, you know, and all the other stuff that has happened throughout history, to give just another perspective of a lived experience, because that is history, you know, in itself, and that's his story that people need to, you know, be able. But it's just another thing that you know, technology. When we talk about activism, you know, to be able to change the lens when we talk about policies and everything else that kind of
Yeah,
goes along with that.
yeah, but that's interesting.
Yeah. And then as far as like some case studies, I came across a couple of case studies in Afrofuturistic tech activism, which I actually came across like two apps, well, app slash website. You know, one
Mm-hmm.
was called 50, right? And that was about police accountability.
Okay.
And the thing about 5.0, which was, really, really fascinating to me, was it was actually created by some teenagers, right? So 5.0 was a mobile application created by 3 African American siblings in Georgia, USA. The 3, Emma, Aisha, and Caleb Christian, aged 16, 15, and 14, respectively. In 2014, created the application as an attempt to provide a solution to the issues generated from their interactions between law enforcement and citizens, such as the shooting of Michael Brown, and their own traumatic experiences with 2 police officers. So they created this app out of necessity, to be able to kind of, immerse people into this lived experience. The application was launched on August 18th, 2014. The application was available on, Android and iOS platforms. It has been developed in collaboration with Pine Star Inc., a company developing mobile applications that they founded. The term 5.0, which, for those who are non-melanated, is an American slang term for law enforcement based on Hawaii 5.0.
Yeah,
A
is that where it
television
started
program.
from? Hawaii
Yes.
5.0?
Yeah.
I never knew that. I thought it was some.
Yeah, you just thought it was something that we
a
did.
code.
Yeah, just a code in the hood. That's what it is. And then the Black Archive, which is actually refers to multiple projects, but both physical and digital, that focus on preserving and showcasing the history, culture, and experiences of Black people. One prominent example is Black Archives, a multimedia platform founded by Renita Charisse that celebrates Black experience through photos and stories. So that is like some of the ways that they're using technology to not only, as far as activism, to be able to showcase, to be able to collect, store, to be able to provide opportunities for other people to get different perspectives on, what's going on and everything.
Yeah. Can I add to that digital
Of course.
archiving? So you mentioned Black Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there is something called the hashtag syllabus movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that was coined by Mark Anthony Neal. He was from Duke University in the Africana Studies.
Okay.
And Makiba Foster, who was at Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, saw that as an inspiration to see a shift in education online.
Oh, no.
So, and this happened in 2016. So there is a power of hashtags. And we see this, that's why it's important and to have hashtags. And we saw it when we were using Black Lives Matter or any of the blackout days we were using.
Oh, yes.
And people would try to hijack our hashtags so we wouldn't see the information that we were trying to share because people needed the information.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is on there another archive where you can go on and you can see power hashtags. Teaching Trayvon, Black Lives Matter syllabus, Colin Kaepernick syllabus, Sandra Bland Forum, Black Feminism, Lemonade syllabus, prison syllabus. So there's all these different hashtags that were captured from our social media and collected so that people can go on their own and do their own research.
Yeah, and then be able to organize the information accordingly because we use hashtag as a way to be able to to categorize information that's available on the internet nowadays if you didn't know. So and then there's also a Afrofuturist, collectives, which is the Black Speculative Arts Movement, which is a blending of art, tech, and and direction action, spearheaded by my good people, John Jennings and Ronaldo Anderson. That was, and that took into account speculative fiction, comic books, horror, Afrofuturism, so sci-fi, all of those fantasy, all of those different, things, and made it into another movement that's going on, throughout the diaspora and everything.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of transition into the risk, when we talk about surveillance, and digital redlining. So that those are some of the things when we talk about activism. But I know within X or Twitter or whatever you refer to, certain hashtags and or words were censored, right? I know some of those things are being more relaxed now, but when we talk about woke tech, becomes a corporate, performant performativity, around when we talk about diverse algorithms that don't shift the power, those are things that we want to kind of do when we talk about digital redlining, right? That you're not censored, because I've known people to get banned because they're using certain words. And you could get reported for anything. Anybody could report
Anybody
you for
can
whatever.
report you.
Anybody
Yeah.
could report you at any time, and get you banned, and then you got to, find your
Prove
way back
yourself.
onto the platform or whatever. I'm always thinking collectively, like we always have to have our own platforms, so we don't have to worry about these things. But fighting digital colonialism, because those who control the code, servers, and narratives control the story. And we are always, and when we talk about the Futures Black podcast, we always got to control the narrative, right?
So going into tech news, right?
Go ahead. Oh.
About Meta AI app, a
Mm-hmm.
new way to access your AI assistant. Why is that important? So something you mentioned here, I'm wondering if it could be a good or bad.
Yep.
So they're doing a whole overhaul of their fact checking.
Yep.
On it. So Meta's replaced a third-party fact checking system with a community-driven moderation model. So the community is giving feedback.
Yeah.
On it. Kind of reminds me of Wikipedia, how your peers are, no, this is false. Then you got to change it.
Correct it. Yeah.
So we know everything's on Wikipedia is not trusted. You can't trust everything.
No. I mean,
You
yeah.
see on
And with
Wikipedia,
all of
but
this stuff,
we do check each other.
And with everything, especially because of the abundance and ample amount of information that you're getting, you definitely need to fact check. Definitely look at 2 and 3 sources, with regard. We like to shed light on these things. Take our information and check it against your own. And then, hey, give us feedback on
in the comments.
in the comment section of what you heard and what you think about, what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Because with all of this, we're talking about, code of liberation. That's the words. Code of liberation, Afrofuturism, tech, and the future of activism. And where we see this going, moving forward. So I'm sorry, were you finished with your tech?
See
news?
how you do me.
I'm trying not to. That's why I was like, hold on. Let me make sure
I wanted, because I wanted feedback, definitely feedback on this, because they're changing policies and we need to pay attention to not just us, but everyone needs to pay attention to it. So AI is going to have a greater role in content moderation. So as we're talking about the biases and the other things, now we have the community interjecting on whether or not something's facts. So we're going to see more, we may see more things be moderated on and then maybe flagged as a result of AI. And they're also doing a hate speech policy rollback.
Oh.
So
and that was Meta. Meta was doing a lot of that research.
Meta's doing this. So it's relaxed enforcement on hate speech rules, allowing certain previously banned language, including anti-trans rhetoric and other things, to be allowed on the platform.
I wonder if that has something to do with the new administration who's relaxing.
The buddy systems that we all saw together during the inauguration. Who knows? Maybe.
Who knows? Because
allegedly, maybe.
Because I know they're relaxing on a lot of these terms and stuff, regardless. So we'll see what happens with that, because tensions are very high right now, with regards to gender, race, ethnicity, all of these different things, and people feel like they got a path, like they have a pass to be able to speak their minds without repercussions, as it was, with the prior administration and everything, especially, working in the school system, you have words that you just couldn't say, regardless, because it would be, framed within the, HIB framework, which is harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And a lot of people know these names, but as kids, you would say these words without any recourse, and, you may hike on someone or...
What's that? Hold on. I'm not from Jersey originally. What's hike on mean?
What they call Jones, or
thank you.
talking about people, for those who don't know what Joneses is and everything too. But your mama jokes and everything else, that ties into that. But that that is something that we're going to definitely be looking at. So I'm sorry. I hope I ain't cut you off again.
No, but the whole hiking, that's another like different
Yeah.
words we use across. Sometimes AI doesn't get that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, when you talk
that's
about
why
like,
we need to do the algorithms.
yeah,
Back
definitely.
to that.
Because I mean, and I'm not even going to say ebonics, but we have a certain vernacular that we use in dialect, especially in different areas, from Jersey to Baltimore
codes.
to Philly to LA to Miami. Everyone have different words for different things, from Jones and Johns and everything, everything else in between. You can't look it up in the dictionary. You just got to know.
Playing dozens.
Yeah, like that's just part of the vocabulary, and I don't think AI is going to pick that up
unless we train it to.
But so I mean, as we come to a close, we're going to talk about the call, right? So we want to build a liberatory tech. How can listeners support Black tech activists, and some of the ways that we talk about, supporting these particular movements and activism is through funding, open source collaboration, and then being able to come together as a community. We so often, are banded together to tear something down, but we never really come together collectively to build something up. And that's where I think our biggest strength and our biggest power come in, where we can actually build community together. I know everyone's looking at the Diddy trials and all of the stuff that's going on with that, but just months ago, everyone was loving this guy and everything, and helped him build this empire. But at the same time, now we're talking about tearing it. We're looking at him being tore down in public, and what would they call it? Buck breaking, in public fashion and everything, because that's what they do. They build you up to tear you right down. Not justifying anything that he's done, or within that, I don't even know enough of the facts to be able to do. And also, I mean, just from my understanding of what I'm hearing about the trial per se, I don't even know what he's really being charged with. So, I mean, hey, put your facts in the comments. I know you guys will love to put that your facts within that. I'm not tuned into it, so I'm going to say I'm ignorant to that.
I'm not tuned into it either.
So I'll definitely stay ignorant to that. But
future visionaries.
Oh, future visionaries. Yeah. Oh yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you chime in before we get to our closing statements.
Yeah, because you're talking about call to actions, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure our people are aware of Ruha Benjamin, because she had a lecture course at Princeton University, and it was called Black Mirror: Race, Technology, and Justice.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was talking about reflecting on deep-seated social biases, especially those related to race and power.
Mm-hmm.
Key questions: who truly benefits from the digital innovations that we're having? Whose voices are left out? And how might our current systems be designed, perhaps unintentionally, to reproduce age-old inequalities that we have? So during the class, they designed social technical prototypes, practical real-world projects that seek to advance racial justice using the technology. So my call to action, she has a book.
Okay.
That's out. I read it, listened to the audiobook first, and then read it afterwards, because that's typically how I do books now. It's called Race After Technology.
Okay.
Abolitionist Tools for the New Jim Code.
Jim Code.
Yes, so Race After Technology, Abolitionist Tools for the New Jim Code by Ruha Benjamin. And hopefully we can do a book review or a book
club, digital book club.
Yes, on this book.
And if you're definitely interested, put that in the comments. We'll definitely look to do something like that in the future. We'll definitely look to do something like that. So also,
I'm done now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Please forgive me. So when we talk about our call to action, we talk about why every organizer needs a tech strategy and how to get started. because within all of these platforms, we need to definitely be organized. We need to definitely find ways to be able to collaborate, to be able to have community, because when we control the narrative, we need to be able to control the narrative before they can control you, and be able to tell our own stories. So in closing, we want to talk about a world where technology serves as Black freedom, not extraction. And with that, we're going to close out. We want to thank you all for tuning in to the Futures Black podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Futures Black podcast. Thank you for tuning in each and every week. Once again, my name is Naseed Gifted, and this is
Jojo Abenaavi Wright.
And this is the Futures Black podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Take care. Peace.